G'day everyone, Dan here. Welcome to another episode of North Queensland Barbecue and Brewing. Today I'm doing a Mexican lager. This one's another one of the Cheeky Peg Brewery challenges that I'm doing. There's actually two recipes for Mexican lagers on their Facebook ambassadors page. The first one I'm doing is, they're the same grain bill on both beers. So the grain bill for this one is 3.2 kilograms of 2-row. I'm using pale malt, and 1.5 kilograms of flaked corn. So this is an interesting beer. I've brewed it once before, and if you have your typical Corona, it's very similar, but the flavour's a lot better. I'm not a Corona drinker, but I've brewed this once before and I really did enjoy it. So this one's calling for 15 grams of Liberty hops at 60 minutes and another 15 grams at 10 minutes. The other Mexican lager recipe called for a different hop, I can't quite remember it now. Same, but then it also had a lemon drop hop addition at 10 minutes as well, to give it that lemon taste. Done a little bit of research and some recipe research on Mexican lagers, and some of them call for like Machuca hop, I think it's called. It's a New Zealand hop to add fruitiness in the last 10 minutes of the boil, so you don't have to add lemon or lime to the beer when you're drinking it. So it's not going to be as citrusy or as, what's the word? Doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah, so adding flaked maize, maize it's got on here. I did a little bit of research into this just to have a look at the beers, and it's generally used in American pilsners and Mexican lagers, real light bodied beers. This is also calling for 300 grams of white sugar to be added, or cane sugar to be added, and that's going in at 10 minutes at the end of the boil as well. And once again, the research I did on that was basically to add alcohol volume to the beer, because we're using not much grain, and we're using the flaked maize. One extra interesting thing I read about using the flaked corn was the fact that you've got to have grain with it, so like my malted barley in it to release the enzymes to help break some of this down and convert the starches into sugars. So yeah, just a little bit of interesting research into it. There was a lot of different things I read in using sugars in brewing, and there was a lot of it went over my head. I'm just a simple all grain brewer that does it in my house for a bit of fun, and I like doing it. And the reason I do these videos mainly, apart from my barbecue ones, is to say, hey, look, you guys can make these beers too, they're not hard to do. So the mashing temperature today for this is 66 degrees. At the moment I've got 30 litres of water in here, my mashing water, and once I get the basket out, some of it will drain off. I'm going to want a volume of about 30 litres in this when I start the 60-minute boil, because I'm going to lose about 4 to 5 litres of water when it's boiling, coming off in steam. So I'll do a bit of a sparge at the end when I'm ready. I'll give this 60 minutes. I'm not going to use the recirculation valve again. I'm going to do that probably in the last 15 minutes or so of the mash. I'd really like to do it's hot today, North Queensland, bloody atrocious. I'd like to do a step mash with this and see what the difference is and get into that sort of thing. I've got to do a lot more research. I had a gentleman comment on my last video about step mashing, or one of my last videos about step mashing. It just looked like an interesting process, but I've always brewed like this. I've just done the single infusion mash, and I haven't had too many problems with it, so it seems to always work. From what I've read, modern grains, you don't really need to do step mashes because of all the science behind it. Like I said, I'm no expert, I just do it as a hobby more than anything. So what I'll do now is I'll get the lid back on this. I'm going to let that mash now for 1 hour. I'll let that mash in, and we'll come back, and then we'll get our hop schedule ready, and we'll do the 60-minute hop addition, and then the 10-minute. I'm also going to add a Werflock to this at 10 minutes as well, to help clarify the beer, to get it clearer, because I've got no other way of clearing this apart from doing a lagering process in the fridge and just letting nature take its course. The beer I brewed, last time I did this 2 years ago, I left it for 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks, and it became really clear. and it was actually quite a good beer. So we'll come back when that's ready. So we've now been boiling this for 50 minutes. I've now got the 10-minute edition, which is 15 grams of Liberty hops again, so that'll go into the hop spider. But I've also got the 300 grams of white sugar here and a Werflock tablet that are going in. So I'll throw that in, and I'll throw the 300 grams of sugar in as well and get that in there. I'll give that a good stir, and I'm also going to add my wort chiller in just to sanitize that. But before I do that, I'm going to stir this up just to get that sugar dissolved. It's interesting putting in sugar into a beer. It goes against my sort of concept of brewing, but the research I've done says it's going to be fine, and having done it a couple of times now, it should be fine. So that's it. Like I said, we had the 15 grams at 60 minutes, and this is 15 grams at 10 minutes with the 300 grams of sugar. So now it's just a matter of letting that go for 10 more minutes. I'll lift the hop spider out because I always use a hop spider. I just like the fact that I can control the hop additions with the hop spider. That's why I use it. So basically what I'll do from there is I'll put it into the fermentation fridge, which I've got going now. I've got it chilling right down. I'll put that into the fermenter, put it in the fridge. I can't, unfortunately, like I've said before, I can't chill the wort down below about 30 degrees here in Townsville, just due to water temperature and all that. So I've got a yeast starter already going, and that's a litre with a litre of wort. Basically, I started yesterday with some light dried malt that I boiled, put the yeast in, I've let that go overnight, and I'll leave the fermenter in the fridge overnight until it hits 12 degrees, and I'll add the yeast starter then in the morning. So it'll probably take a good 12 to 15 hours to chill it right down to the temperature I want to ferment at, and then I'll add the yeast starter. So we'll see how this beer goes. It should be a good beer. I've had it before and I did like it, so we'll see how it goes. We'll come back for the taste test. So welcome back. This is the Mexican cerveza that I brewed. 3-4 months ago now. It's been a while, and I've had it in the fridge lagering for months. I think 3.5, 4 months now it's been sitting in the fridge since I first started this video, and that's how it's come out. So it's actually, yeah, it took a while for it to obviously get this clear and to a point where I was happy with it. I tried it about 2 months ago and it was tasting good, but it was a bit cloudy still, starting to clear up, and now I've managed to get it where it's actually pretty good. Taste wise, it's very light beer. Flavour wise, I think it's still probably a 4.5–5% beer, but it's a lawnmower beer. It is literally a proper lager in the fact that it's very drinkable and very light. You get that corn taste.
Oh, sit down.
There's a little fella. When you brew with the corn, obviously you're getting that that sweetness, I suppose. And if you imagine a Corona, but with more flavour, a lot more. A Corona has that certain taste, and I'd say this is actually really similar to that to describe it. And I actually really like it. This is the second or third time I've brewed this particular beer. I've brewed it down in Canberra to try it when I was down there, and now here in North Queensland, and especially now that it's February and just hot and humid, this is a perfect go-to beer for that. The one thing I'd give, a piece of advice I'd give, is to let it age, just let it sit. And this one, like I said, has sat now for a really substantial amount of time. So I'm actually really happy with how this has turned out. All the brewing of it is in the first half of the video that I did originally. I've actually got a new camera to film these videos with rather than my phone, so hopefully this is a bit better quality. I've done the last couple of videos on, but you know, I did it for I think 12 days. It sat at 12 degrees, and then I raised it a degree a day over 5–6 days to 18 degrees, let it sit for another day, and that was a diacetyl rest that I do. I'm no expert brewer. The reason I do these is just to show, hey, you know, you guys can brew the same with all grain at home. Whether it's a homemade brewing setup, which was my first brew setup in Esky, or whether it's a nano brewery like I'm using now, you can brew these beers and they come out really well. But yeah, I Werflocked it, did all that, so it was you know, I'm actually really happy with it. And like I said, it's pretty clear. I can see my hand through that now. And was literally, like I said, 4 months in the fridge, just lagering and letting it settle and settle and settle. So yeah, that's the Mexican Cerveza. Till next time, guys, cheers and take care.